Everyone, this lecture is going to be based on OET Reading Part C. So let us talk about it. OET Reading Part C. Before covering that, we will understand the format of the paper, the question types, and the tips. If I look at the format of the paper, it's a pretty easy kind of a format in which there are only 15 minutes given for Part A, which will contain 20 questions. Multiple choice, fill-ups, and short answer. I've made a video for this. Please watch that video. 45 minutes for rest two parts, Part B and Part C, which contain 6 and 16 questions respectively. They are multiple choice questions only. Going further, question types of Part C. Now, Part C is basically designed for you to read very carefully and understand complex medical information. All the articles in Part C are going to be from medical journals, from science articles, research articles, things like that. It will contain two texts, which are 750 to 850 words long. So approximately, we can say 800 words long. They are followed by multiple choice questions, 4 options each, A, B, C, D. There are 16 questions in total, including 2 lexical questions. What are lexical questions? They are the questions with word and phrase understanding. They give you a big word or a phrase and they tell you what is the meaning of this particular thing. Now, unlike Part A and B, speed reading is not the concept in Part C. In Part A and B, it was speed reading. If you remember, there are 4 texts in Part A and 6 texts in Part B, total of 10 texts, very, very short ones. Part C is substantially long. We have to analyze the questions, understand them, about the author's opinion. We have to understand the author's attitude, the main points of the passage, and things like that. As and when we'll go in it, we'll understand what the article is about and what the questions are about. So let's see, tips on Part C, multiple choice questions. Now, read the prompt carefully. The question prompt will tell you exactly what you need to do, such as what is the main point of the paragraph, what is the author's opinion on something. Don't just read the entire passage first. Instead, skim the passage, get a general idea of the topic, and then read the question prompt. Then go back to the passage, focus on the specific part which is relevant to the question. You know, it's kind of a tricky thing where you have to figure out where the answer is, where the question is, like that. Pay attention to synonyms and paraphrases. The answer to the questions may be worded exactly the same way as in the passage. Be prepared to identify synonyms and paraphrases of the keywords and ideas. We'll teach you on the way. The 4th tip is eliminate the choices which are clearly incorrect. Now, what will happen out of these 4 choices? You will see that 2 are purely incorrect and 2 choices are going to be a little different, which are going to distract you. And tip 5 is don't spend too much time on one particular question. If you're stuck on one question, move on. Come back to it later on whenever you have time. So keep on doing that. Keep on shuffling in between because, you know, you can go forward and backward very easily. It's a paper-based test. Go on it. Now, let's see. I'm going to do one with you and then see what happens. First of all, I'll see what is it about. It's about sleep deprivation. So we are talking about people who suffer from sleep problems, have health problems also, they have emotional distress and things like that. So we're talking about it here. So now let us read the article in detail and see what does it mean. So we have in the first paragraph, the writer uses Yves von Cothier's words to do something, okay? This is a pretty French word, different pronunciation, so don't worry about it. So we have to talk about this person only, okay? So we'll read the choices. Let's see what he has to say. So he says, in addition to the emotional distress and cognitive impairments, these can induce high blood pressure, obesity, metabolic syndrome. In studies we have done, almost every variable we measured was affected. There's not a system in the body that's not affected by sleep, says University of Chicago sleep researcher Yves van Cotter. Every time we sleep deprive ourselves, things go wrong. Okay, so let us see what exactly are the choices now. Explain the main causes of sleep deprivation. Did you talk about the causes? Well, he did not. Reinforce a view about the impact of sleep deprivation. So he is talking about, maybe this can be an answer. So let's question mark it here. Let's shortlist it. Question some research findings about sleep deprivation. Is he questioning something? Can't say. Okay. Describe the challenges involved in sleep deprivation research. Is he talking about sleep deprivation research? Challenges? Can't say. So the questions that come into my mind are B and C basically. So we have to find out which is closest in the passage out of them. Okay, this is the kind of, attitude you'll develop once you start doing these multiple choice questions. You have to eliminate some and you have to find out, okay, this can be the option. Now let's finalize them. Okay, then read it again. Millions of people suffer from sleep problems, also suffer myriad health burdens, in addition to emotional distress and cognitive impairments. These can include high blood pressure, obesity, metabolic syndrome. In the studies we have done, almost every variable we measured was affected. There's not a system in the body which was not affected by sleep, says University of Chicago sleep researcher Eve Van Cotter. Every time we sleep deprive ourselves, things go wrong. So now is the time, the judgment day comes where we have to find out what can be the answer, okay? So let us remove this all and see where we are. So we finalized B and C. So the closest one which looks like is B, very clear. Because the C question was there, but not very clearly. We can get very confused, okay? So I believe studies and research, if you combine it together, then, it can be a little confusing. So B is a very clear-cut winner here. Now in the next one, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to explain you the passage and give you some time so you can find out the answer yourself. So let's see this passage. A common refrain among sleep scientists about 2 decades ago was that sleep was performed by brain in the interest of the brain. They mean to say that the brain wanted some rest. That wasn't a fully elaborated theory, but it wasn't wrong. It means that fine, it was there, but it was not totally wrong theory. Numerous recent studies have hinted at the purpose of sleep by confirming that neurological function and cognition are messed up during sleep loss. That means if you sleep less, these both functions go for a toss. With the patient's reaction, time, mood, and judgment all suffering if they are kept awake too long. So this is he's talking about deprivation and what happens to our brain with deprivation. All right. So let us see what you have to do now. Let me rub this for you and I'll give you some time so you can think on it. Okay. So now pause the video here and try to find the answer. Okay. The answer is C. Okay. So let's see where the answer is now. Scientific opinion about its function has changed in recent years. It has not changed. It is still the same, plus it has added more. If it was only for one purpose, now it is one plus. It has not changed. It is something plus something. Okay. There is now more controversy about it than there was in the past. So he is not talking about controversy. Studies undertaken in the past have formed the basis of current research. It can be. So let us put this as question mark. And researchers have tended to confirm earlier ideas about its purpose. So it also can be. So, but the D part, which is there, is not very clearly connected to this passage, this paragraph. Studies undertaken in the past have formed the basis of current research. So numerous research studies, he's saying research studies, but it is nowhere saying that it is connected to the past. To the past, it's not saying, but yeah, it is there. It is not connected to the past. We can't see any kind of a link which has been there. So my answer is C. So let's go to the next one. In this case, I will just explain you the question and I will give you time for you to find out the answer, read the passage, just figure it out. Let me read the question for you. What particularly impressed Bob McCarley of Harvard Medical School. Something impressed him, something made an impact on his mind. So this is what you need to find out. I'll stop it here, figure it out. Okay, so now the answer is the simultaneous production of adenosine and adenosine receptors. Okay, so both have become more. So where does it say? So let us see, what does he talk about? He says, Macaulay later discovered that as adenosine levels rise during sleep deprivation, so do concentrations of adenosine receptors, magnifying the molecule's sleep-inducing effect. So this effect is increased, it is magnified. Both the things, the adenosine levels and the concentration of adenosine receptors, okay, both have increased. So this is what is there in this thing. So para 3 continued. It was part of the para only because it was not coming on one slide. I've made it 2 slides out of it. So let's see this now. I'll not do anything here. I'll pause the video here, figure it out. Okay. Now, this is the question that I was talking about, called as a lexical question. Phrase, we have to find out the meaning of the phrase. By no means the be all and end all. Okay, that means there is more to it. By no means be all and end all means it doesn't finish here, it goes further. Okay, so we have to see this. The brain has clearly designed a two-stage defense against the consequence of sleep loss, Macaulay says. Adenosine may underline some of the cognitive deficits that result from sleep loss. Macaulay and colleagues found that infusing adenosine into rats, basal forebrain impaired the performance on an attention test, similar to that seen in sleep-deprived humans. But adenosine levels are by no means the be-all and end-all of all sleep deprivation's effects on the brain or the body. Okay, so let's understand them one by one. Sleep deprivation has consequences beyond its impact on adenosine levels. Adenosine levels are a significant factor in situations other than sleep deprivation. The role of adenosine as a response to sleep deprivation is not yet fully understood. The importance of the link between sleep deprivation and adenosine should not be underestimated. Okay, so now I think you must have got very close to the answer. And our answer is A. Sleep deprivation has consequences beyond its impact on adenosine levels. So it says it is not the end. I have been talking about this phrase, and this phrase is very self-explanatory. Okay, so now go to question number 11. In question number 11, we are going to talk about what was significant about findings in Van Cotter's experiment. I am not going to help you. I just spoke out the question, pause the video here, find the answer. Okay, now this is the answer. The extent of contrast in the men's metabolic states between sleep, debt, and recovery. So where is my answer? My answer is here. While sleep deprived, the men's glucose metabolism resembled a pre-diabetic state. We knew it would be affected, says Van Cotter. The big surprise was the effect being much greater than we thought. Okay. The extent of the contrast in men's metabolic states between sleep debt and recovery. He says whatever we thought, it was much more than that. That was the contrast. Question number 12. I will not help you. Pause the video here and we'll do the analysis. Okay, and the answer is enforced lack of sleep. What does it refer to? Now this it is referring to, let us see how. Echoing Van Cotter's results, Bashir has found evidence that enforced lack of sleep sends the brain into a catabolic or energy-consuming state. Lack of sleep, okay? This is because it degrades the energy molecule adenosine triphosphate to produce adenosine monophosphate, and this results in the activation of AMP kinase, an enzyme that boosts fatty acid synthesis and glucose utilization. So what are we doing? What is it, the meaning of it? Because it degrades. What degrades? The enforced lack of sleep degrades. Now, you know, he has given a lot of things here. What kind of lot of things? Let us see. It says here, catabolic state is also there. Energy consuming is also there. So all the things are there, right? So what we have to find out is, it refers to what? So the previous subject, it refers to that. Enforced lack of sleep. Let's go to question number 13. I'm not going to help you. Figure out the answer. Okay, let's see the answer now. And the answer is, what aspect of a finding surprised Chiara Cirelli? There was no reversal from certain effect of sleep deprivation. After 36 hours of sleep recovery, a period during which she expected normalcy to resume, those changes remained. That means there was no reversal of those changes. Question number 14. Pause the video, find the answer. Okay, your answer is B. In the final paragraph, the quote from Van Cotter is used to suggest what? Let us find the quote of Van Cotter. But with so much of our physiology affected, an effective therapy other than sleep itself is hard to imagine. People like to define a clear pathway of action for health conditions, says Van Cotter. With sleep deprivation, everything you measure is affected and interacts synergistically to produce the effect. So now, the answer to this would be, it could be difficult to develop any treatment for sleep deprivation. It is hard to imagine, hard to imagine. So with this, we come to the end of our session, and I'm going to get the answers checked. 7th is B, 8th is C, 9th is C, 10th is A, 11th is D, 12th is D, 13th is A, and 14th is B. And thank you so much for this session, and I will be seeing you in more sessions very soon. Thank you.